Dr. Cheyenne Bryant was invited on Cam Newton's platform to talk about broken homes and low-functioning behavior. She explained very eloquently what it meant to be a high-value man who is low-functioning. So according to her terms, a high-value man is basically a man who is rich or highly paid, and a low-functioning man is a man who has poor emotional intelligence and overall poor relationship skills. She explained that many men are high value but low functioning, and that they usually don't try to be high functioning because they think that being high value is enough. And Cam Newton basically proved her point by saying that being high value compensates for being low functioning. In other words, many rich men can be terrible partners and fathers, but because they have money or they're highly paid, whether they're low functioning or not does not matter. So Cam basically showed us through his arguments that to him, a rich man, aka a high value man, is automatically considered to be a prize, whether he's low or high functioning, which isn't true. But before further diving into this topic, I think it is important that we break down the psychology of men like Cam Newton or even Nick Cannon, because these are men that psychologists would call avoidant men or dismissive men. So what is an avoidant man? So it is a man who is emotionally unavailable, or as I'd like to call them, men who pretend to be emotionally available at the beginning stages of relationships to get what they want. Some call it game and others call it deceitful, manipulative behavior. So a lot of avoidant men usually have difficulty forming relationships, which means that they struggle to sustain long-term committed relationship. They usually fear vulnerability or intimacy or any type of emotional closeness. They have a very hard time discussing anything that's very emotionally charged. They may not acknowledge your feelings, and they may also have a hard time acknowledging, processing, and expressing their own emotions. Avoidant men are usually very independent, very self-sufficient, and they usually have a hard time in relationships because it can feel like it's a bit stifling. And they also tend to have a disdain for their partners because their partner might want more from them or demand a lot of things that normal people have in their stable, healthy relationships. And that's something that they resent, and that's something that they do not like because it causes this extreme discomfort. So I found this interesting article on Psychology Today entitled Women and Hope for the Avoidant Man. It was written by Dr. Al Shoray. I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name, but basically he was explaining and dissecting the mind of avoidant, dismissing people and how they tend to give people hope, especially at the beginning of the relationship, which to me, to be very honest, looks like a lot of love bombing and future faking. But you guys will decide once I break down what he's been talking about here. So basically he's saying that avoidant dismissing people can be very charismatic. They often present themselves as successful, self-assured, and charming. And they are initially quite flattering and interested in getting to know you. And they usually have high levels of self-confidence. And when you meet them at first and you guys part ways, you're definitely left with a lot of feelings of hope for what this could be. Dr. Shoray also said that avoidant men tend to paint an enticing picture of romance. They let you dream of an idealized romantic future. They let this image linger just long enough to let it solidify in your mind. In other words, they provide you with the goal component of hope. That is how he explains it. And after a time, you realize that the goal you have been pursuing may never materialize. And by that, I think he means basically getting married or just building a family under those circumstances. I think this article provides good information surrounding how a lot of women fall into the traps of, getting married to or just having kids or just being attached to an avoidant man for so long. I think it's important for people to understand what happens initially, and that usually what we see of these men, like how we see Cam Newton talk in his podcast right now or on his platform, we need to realize that that is not how he approached all of these women that are now his baby mothers. So I think that this article does a good job at explaining that there are different stages, and that obviously they do have some qualities that are attractive to like the opposite sex, like, being charismatic or just being very charming, being very successful as well. So obviously these kind of men having a lot of money definitely helps them leverage whatever they want to leverage to get these women to be in their little, concubine situation. And based on the psychology knowledge that I have so far, one thing that I know from avoidant people in general, these are people that are usually, that tend to be successful because they do have time to channel all their energy into like their profession, their academics, or anything that doesn't involve, deep emotional bonding. So I really believe that because they're not that interested in forming deep connections and just cultivating closeness with other people, they have time to dedicate all of their time, energy, and emotions into their academics, their profession, or anything that's just considered to be cold or emotionless. So I believe that it is not rare to find avoidant men who are very successful, and it is not rare to find a lot of highly successful people who struggle in their intimate lives, who struggle to sustain healthy, happy relationships or marriages. So going back to the interview that Cam did with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, I feel like it's very easy for men who place their value on their financial status to believe that because that's all they have to offer, that is all women are seeking from them. So men who lead with their money will definitely tend to attract women who only seek them for their money. So you could tell that Cam had a very hard time believing that high-value women can end up with a low-value man who is high-functioning, because he believes that a sustainable relationship between a man and a woman is only possible when the man is high value, which means when he's highly paid and can provide. That is simply not true, because the statistics will tell you that many women marry down or hypogamously nowadays. In fact, Black women are the demographic of women who date and marry down the most. So Cam is not only a product of his environment, but he also uses the narrative that is most convenient to him. I think that he knows deep down that he is not that high functioning, so he'd rather turn around and blame the woman for being with him, instead of humbly acknowledging that he is attracting his reflection, which are women who are just as low functioning. That is exactly why there was a lot of discomfort in that conversation with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, because she is a high-functioning woman who will not settle for men like Cam Newton just because he's highly paid. And I believe that Cam will probably never get that because of his emotional and psychological immaturity. So overall, Dr. Bryant did an amazing job dissecting the psychology of men who are low functioning and exposing broken homes for what they are, which are symptoms of low functioning behavior. I just find it really sad that she had to spoon feed that information to a man who was a father, a grown adult with 8 children. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video.